Our story began nearly 10 years ago, back in 2012. I was starting my sophomore year of college in South Carolina. I was hanging out with friends, going to football games, and riding around campus in my awesome Mustang. I had an amazing boyfriend, James, and we hung out as often as we could. The past year had been pretty difficult for us, especially for James. My family had just moved to Ohio for my dad's job, and James had lost his grandfather, his mother, and his father, all within the span of a year. It was hard, but we were doing our best to make it work and to keep moving forward. Then, in the beginning of December 2012, we found out that I was pregnant. To say we were scared would be an understatement. We were still barely kids ourselves. How were we going to raise and care for a baby? And I had a full-ride scholarship to my college, but if I were to move with my parents out of state, I would lose all of my financial aid. It was difficult, but after a lot of discussion, James and I decided to move to Ohio so my parents could help us. I was at least moving in with my family, but James was leaving behind everything he had ever known. It was one of the hardest decisions he had ever had to make. I stayed with my parents and continued to go to school, baby bump and all, and James immediately found a job and an apartment. Then, in August 2013, our beautiful daughter Lily was born. Our whole family, but especially me and James, were so in love with her. But that wasn't the start of our happily ever after. Things were still difficult for several years after that. I was still trying to attend classes with a newborn at home, and James had to pick up a second job so that we would be able to afford everything Lily needed. It was honestly really hard. With both of our schedules, there were some weeks James couldn't even come out and see me and Lily. He came out as often as he could, but we both never felt like it was enough. I remember being on the phone with James and just crying because it felt like we were working so hard and we just weren't getting anywhere. This great future we had envisioned for our little family just seemed so far away. But we persevered, and by the grace of God, things finally began looking up. James officially proposed, and he got a promotion at work to manage his very own store in Mount Vernon. We got married on January 1st, 2016. We had just a small ceremony with our closest family, and we were so excited to finally begin our life together as a family of 3. We bought our very own home shortly after. Then, in April 2016, I finally graduated with my Bachelor of Social Work degree. I was named Student of the Year for social work as well. Not 1 month later, we found out I was pregnant with baby number 2. We were so excited, and Lily couldn't wait to be a big sister. I started working at Starting Point, and I had the opportunity to share my story with other girls facing an unexpected pregnancy. Then, in February 2017, our son Jace arrived, completing our little family. James and I now have been married for 5 years. Lily is 7 years old and in 1st grade, and Jace just turned 4. We have our beautiful home, jobs we both love, numerous vehicles, including 3 motorcycles, and even a Lamborghini. Just kidding. It's amazing to look around and see where we are now compared to all those years ago when we first found out I was pregnant. Looking back, I really think God allowing me to become pregnant was what saved me and James. In the midst of our darkness and our sinfulness, God showed us the beauty of life and gave us something worth living for. He brought us to Ohio and connected us with loving, Christ-fearing people who brought us closer to the Lord and closer to each other. Our story is far from over. But we have a new perspective moving forward. Even though things will be difficult and they won't always be easy, we know without a shadow of a doubt that life is worth it.